Now, people go bankrupt all the time, companies too, but countries? The global financial crisis has laid waste to some major banks and other financial institutions in the United States and Europe. But Iceland may be the first country to face the prospect of going bust along with them. After a decade-long binge in which Iceland's banks and some of its citizens expanded way beyond their means, the party is over. Something we predicted way back in August 2007 when we reported on how Iceland was booming due to the asset bubble, the bubble that's just burst. Back then, financial analyst Max Kaiser explained that Iceland's boom was fueled by a financial trick called the carry trade.
Iceland's been buying a lot of Britain's high street recently. How does a country with less than 300,000 population, who's got a GDP of $13 billion, less than 1/10 the size of Google, end up buying hundreds of billions of dollars worth of valuable properties here in London and Britain, including the West Ham Football Club?
I believe this financial miracle comes from cheap credit, a fancy word for debt. Never in history has the entire world been so awash in debt. And all this debt begins, many say, with something called the carry trade.
The carry trade. The carry trade usually works that investors take loans in low-yielding currencies, for example, yen or the Swiss franc, and then they buy assets in the high-yielding currencies, in Icelandic kronas, Turkish lira, or Australian dollar.
This carry trade usually begins in the currency markets, otherwise known as the Forex markets, the biggest market in the world where $3 trillion worth of trades happen every single day. I'll show you how the carry trade is done. First, I need to borrow some money from a country with low interest rates.
Let's flip this coin to decide. Heads, Tokyo. Tails, Zurich. Tails, Zurich. Whoa! A little bit too much on that one. The Forex market can be a very dangerous place. You never know day to day what kind of trades you might encounter, what kind of danger might be out there. Zurich, of course, one of the most dangerous towns in the world if you're not lucky. Now, fortunately, I should have some Swiss francs in my pocket. Exactly. Here's something I can do. With these Swiss francs, I can actually perform a little bit of Forex legerdemain. By taking these Swiss francs, and then by jumping back into the Forex market and coming out in another town, I'll show you how we can make some money. Well, so the currency in Zurich has been magically transformed into the local currency here in Iceland, the Icelandic krona, and I immediately pick up 5, 6, 7% of my money. I didn't get this money by manufacturing or producing or savings. I just got it from interest rate speculating, interest rate arbitrage. Economics appears to have gone through a radical transformation where the king is the speculator and the chump who's caught working for a living in a factory is considered yesterday's news.
Today's news is debt. More and more consumers, corporations, investors, and speculators are taking on more and more debt thanks to low global interest rates. Glenn Stevens, governor of Australia's Reserve Bank, said of Japan's near 0% interest rate policy, quote, "There is something very strange about a G3 country giving out free money. This has an effect on global markets. It is by no means clear that it is a healthy state of affairs to persist."
The governor's probably on the money there, that when you have a situation where the Japanese are effectively giving away their cash, you can borrow it for free for all intents and purposes, or maybe a few basis points, that does have global implications and necessarily would hold the global interest rate environment lower than it otherwise would be.
It's all so easy with free money. What could possibly go wrong? You know, whether it's 0% or 2 or 3 basis points, it doesn't really make a heck of a lot of difference because it's still debt. And ordinarily, when there's huge demand for debt, the price of debt or interest rates go higher. But what we're seeing now in the global banking cartel is an agreement, more or less, that when there's more demand for debt, they simply make the parameters to borrow less stringent. They never close the debt window. So what we have is asset bubbles. We have house prices and art markets and stocks and bonds going up in price, but not as fast as the level of debt. So the wealth is completely illusory, unless, of course, this is some kind of financial anti-gravity machine and debt never means anything for the rest of our lives, which of course is impossible. Every once in a while, there is a reconciliation in these markets, and you do have the asset bust, the deflation, and the occasional depression.
I decided to stay in Iceland and find out more about the Viking economy. Oscar Johnson, head of research for one of Iceland's leading banks, wrote a paper, Where Does the Money Come From?
A lot of the money actually comes from Iceland, the equity part of it. It comes from the pension funds and Icelandic savings. We also have national resources that we are utilizing. And it basically means that we are in short of capital. We have to import capital.
So the investors are borrowing yen or Swiss francs and putting it into Icelandic banks?
Not into the banks usually. Usually they some of them do actually, but also they issue securities called glacier bonds, which are euro bonds issued in ISK.
What should happen in a global economy? You should be rewarded for savings. That's what your parents taught you. That's what you learn in Economics 101. What's happened in the last 5-6 years? You're not rewarded for savings just by putting your cash into interest-bearing assets, because in the US, you've got negative returns on that in real terms. Why would you bother doing it? You have to look elsewhere. And this is not just true of the man and woman in the street, it's true of corporations and investment funds. You've got to look elsewhere, which is why you've seen asset bubbles appearing in housing. That's your man in the street who's able to participate in that quite easily by buying housing.
Tell you in America that you've got a healthy economy, and yet you've got 2 straight years of negative savings. They talk about wealth being built up in people's homes, and yet the foreclosure rates have never been higher. They talk about people achieving the American dream, and yet poverty rates are skyrocketing. It's all nonsense.
That was Max Kaiser over a year ago, a prophet in his own bath time. Featured in that report was Eskir Jonsson of Kaupthing Bank, the third bank to be nationalized in Iceland.